Yo, what's going on everyone? How you guys doing today? Welcome back to another YouTube video. In today's video, we're going to be taking a look at one final build for the Prismatic Hunter. And today is all about jolting and being amplified. With this build, we're going to get lots of ad clear, damage resistance, and a whole lot of chain lightning. Now the main thing they're going to need for this build will be the Thunderlorded Sonic Machine Gun, and also the Gifted Conviction, it's sort of chest piece. As long as you have those two things, then you'll be able to make the build. So let's get into it. So first off, let's start talking about our main weapon, and that is the Thunderlord Machine Gun. This is the weapon that we're going to be using for the majority of the time. It will stop overload champions, and also is going to be able to deal with ads very easily, thanks to all the lightning strikes we get from the weapon itself, and also the shock and all artifact mod. Whenever we get any kills with arc damage, it'll also do a lightning strike thanks to that mod. So we're going to be doing lots and lots of lightning strikes. And those lightning strikes will also jolt targets. So that gives us even more ad clear and also gives us a way to get damage reduction. Since with this build, every time we jolt anything, we're going to be getting damage reduction thanks to our exotic piece of armor. We'll also be pairing this with some finders so we can always be topped off on our ammo and use our machine gun pretty much as we want. And just in case, we're also going to be pairing this up with a bolt shot weapon. This will be up to you. It could pretty much be any weapon. It can be a pulse rifle, a sidearm, a hand cannon. This can be a weapon for like specific champions, or just a weapon that you have in case we run out of ammo with our machine gun. So even if worst case scenario our machine gun runs completely out of ammo, we'll still be able to take advantage of all the mods, and our build will still work as long as we have an arc weapon. Now moving on to the super, I would definitely recommend something that's not the arc one. You know, I know we're going for the arc build, but the arc super on Prismatic Hunter is just not very good for PvE. So I would instead recommend either Silence and Squall or the Tether. Those will pretty much be like the best ones. Now moving on to our abilities, we're gonna have the Smoke Grenade and also the Arc Bolt Grenade. The Smoke Grenade is gonna help us deal with some bigger targets by giving us that weaken, just making things a little easier to kill. And then our Arc Bolt is gonna let us draw targets, and that's gonna give us a bit of extra ad clear and also give us the damage resistance. Now moving on to the aspects, the first one we gotta talk about is gonna be the Ascension aspect. And this is gonna be the very important one. It lets us draw targets, it lets us ad clear, and also it gives us a ridiculous amount of damage resistance. We have Galvanic Armor, so as soon as we go Amplified, we're gonna get 30% damage resistance, and then we're gonna get even more damage resistance from our chest piece as we jolt targets. Usually if you use your Ascension like in the middle of a couple enemies, you'll get like 2 to 3 stacks of damage resistance. And in the meantime, you're gonna be jolting a bunch of enemies, making them just easier to kill. Now our second aspect is gonna be the Gunpowder Gamble. The second aspect is not as important as the first one, so if you don't like the Gunpowder Gamble, you could actually go with something else. But I just like the Gunpowder Gamble since we're gonna be getting so many kills with Jolt and abilities that our Gunpowder Gamble comes up really quickly. And we're just going to be able to use it for a lot of different things, whether it's ad clear, or just hiding a bit of extra damage against some bigger enemies. The Gunpowder Gamble is just a really good grenade. And also every time that we get a kill, we'll be making more power with our Gunpowder Gamble. Now for the fragments, let's start off with the very first one, which is going to be the Faceted Protection. This is going to give us even more damage resistance whenever we're surrounded, which a lot of the times with this build, we are going to be in the middle of enemies, so we're always going to be taking advantage of Faceted Protection, especially whenever we want to hit our Ascensions and jolt some enemies. That's when Faceted Protection really comes in handy with that extra resist. After that, we're going to have our Faceted Hope, which is again going to help our Ascension whenever we have an elemental buff, like Amplified, which is a thing that we're going to have a lot of the time. Actually, most of the time, we're going to be Amplified. Our class abilities going to regenerate more quickly, meaning that we can spam even more Ascension. After that, we're going to have the Faceted Solitude. This one's just a really good one. It lowers the damage of enemies whenever you hit some rapid positioning hits on them. And this mostly matters on the bigger enemies, the bosses, the mini bosses, the champions. All of those, you can lower their damage by 40%, which is huge, and it also makes them just a lot easier to deal with. So not only are we going to be taking more damage, thanks to all our damage resistance, but they're also going to be doing less damage. So it makes just dealing with some of those dangerous enemies a little bit easier. After that, we're gonna have the Facet of Sacrifice. Whenever we have a Void, Arc, or Solar buff, our ability Find the Blows will give us some bonus Darkness Transcendence energy. This will make it so we can get our Transcendence a little bit faster, since while we have a lot of light energy, we don't have as much darkness. So this is gonna help even it out a bit, and it also works really well with Gunpowder Gamble. After that, we're gonna have the Facet of Purpose. Whenever we pick up another power, we're gonna get either an Overshield or Frost Armor, depending on if you went with a Void Super or the Stasis Super. I like Frost Armor a lot more, that's why I always go with the Stasis Super, but both of those are gonna be pretty useful. We're gonna be making lots of orbs, so we're always gonna have a bit of Overshield or the Frost Armor, which again gives you even more damage resistance. And our final fragment is going to be the Facet of Dominance, which allows our arc grenades to jolt targets. Without this, our grenade is just a regular arc bolt, so you need to have this so it's able to like jolt the targets. And we already talked about it, whenever we jolt them, we get the damage resistance, and also it helps us with the ad clear bit. Now for Red Exotic, we have the Gifted Conviction. Whenever we activate Ascension or Tempest Strike, it throws bouncing explosives nearby that jolts targets, and also whenever we jolt anything, it gives us damage resistance. We're using this mostly for the damage resistance. Also just activating our Ascension usually kinda jolts those guys that would get hit by the explosives anyways. The explosives actually don't go as far as I would actually hope that they would. It seems kinda overkill jolting them one time with the Ascension and then jolting them again with the explosives. But the explosives do help to kill those enemies a little faster. So there's that, and like I said, we're mostly using this for the damage resistance. The damage resistance you get from this thing is kinda crazy. Whenever we have a couple of stacks of this, plus our Galvanic Armor, we're basically gonna be walking around with like 70 to 80% damage resistance. Meaning that you're gonna be taking a lot less damage, and it's just gonna be a lot easier to survive. Now let's take a look at the armor mods as well as the artifact mods that we're running. First here for the helmet, we have an Arc Siphon, so we can make some orbs with our Thunderlord, and also for whatever our secondary weapon that we chose is. And then we have double heavy ammo finders. You could honestly just run one of them. If you run two of them, it basically just increases the amount of ammo you get per brick, but one of them should do just fine as well. For the gauntlets, we have Arc Loader, so it can affect both of our weapons, our important weapons. Firepower, this will make it so anytime we get a kill with a grenade, we make an orb, and this does affect the Gunpowder Gamble. And then lastly, Bolstering Detonation, which gives class ability energy whenever we do some damage with a grenade. Now for the chest piece, it's just the regular resistances, so match those to the activity that you're doing. Now for the boots, we're gonna have an Arc Weapon Surge, so our machine gun and our main weapon can do more damage, an Arc Scavenger, and then a recuperation mod, so we can heal whenever we pick up orbs, and so we can get more ammo per ammo brick. And lastly, for our class item, we have Time Dilation, so our extra arc damage lasts for a little bit longer, and Power Finish, so we can get armor charge whenever we do a finisher, and lastly, Proximity Ward, so we can get an Overshield whenever we go in for a finisher. This might not be on the gameplay, because this was a change that I made later on, but it's definitely better this way. Now for the artifact, the only two that you really need are Shock and Awe and Galvanic Armor, and for the rest you can go with the ones that you like. I always have Counter Energy on whenever there's champions involved, Radiant Orbs is always good, and Shield Crush is also another really good one. But Galvanic Armor and Shock and Awe are definitely the biggest ones, and the ones that affect the build the most. But with that, that's actually going to be the whole build. Like always, I'm going to leave a link in the description, and also one in the comments. I'll make sure to pin it this time. Whenever I don't pin it, for some reason it just gets lost and people just can't find it. So I'll make sure to pin it at the very top of the comments so you can find the dim link if you wanna actually use this build. I feel like this one's one of those very simple builds but very effective. Basically all you have to do is just hit your class ability, and after that you're just good to go. You're gonna start just having better ad clear thanks to Shock and Awe, and also just the lightning strikes from the Thunderlord, and you also get a ton of damage resistance essentially for free for using your class ability. And also the Thunderlord and your main other arc weapon will continue to extend the Amplified, so you're always having that extra damage resistance, and if somehow you lose it, then you can just activate your Ascendance and get it right back, and even some extra damage resistance on top of it, thanks to our exotic. It's actually kind of crazy the amount of resistance we have, considering it doesn't really take much. We're really just playing normally with spamming a class ability every once in a while, but that's it. So hopefully you guys enjoy it, hopefully you guys find it useful. If you guys end up using it, make sure you come back here, tell me what you guys think of the build, and all that. I'm pretty excited for this next season. I think the new artifact mods are going to be revealed later this week, so I'm pretty hyped for those to start coming up with builds for the next season. But anyways, thank you all for stopping by, thank you all for hanging out, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.